Most people think watching TV is about discovery. They want to see what happens next. They're willing to gamble their time on a pilot they've never seen, just for the rush of the unknown. And then there's the rest of us. The brain just refuses. It feels expensive. It feels loud. You can spot this happening on any Tuesday night. The Netflix menu is screaming at you to watch the new #1 hit, but the brain just refuses. So you don't click it. You click Friends. You click the show where you know exactly who kisses who and exactly when the laugh track hits. Society calls this boring, but psychologists actually have a darker, more interesting name for it. Let's start with the obvious assumption. When you tell people you're watching The Office for the 12th time, they usually give you that look. They think it's about stagnation. They think you're just too lazy to follow a new plot, or that you're stuck in a nostalgia loop because you can't handle the present. Maybe you've even told yourself that. Maybe you think you're just being boring. But here's where it gets weird. If you look at the actual mechanics of the brain, laziness isn't what's happening here at all. Conservation is. See, psychologists have a specific term for what happens when you watch a new show. It's called encoding. And encoding is incredibly expensive. Your brain has to track new faces, learn new names, decipher a new environment, and predict new threat outcomes. It's a high-friction activity. It burns glucose. So when you come home after a 10-hour day where you've been solving problems and managing people, your cognitive battery is already in the red. The idea of encoding a new plot feels physically painful. It's not entertainment, it's work. To the outside observer, it looks like you've simply stopped trying to engage with the world. But rewatching? That's different. That runs on something called retrieval fluency. Because you already know the plot, your brain doesn't have to render the world. It's already cached. You aren't watching a story. You're accessing a memory. It costs zero energy. But there's a second layer to this. It's not just about saving energy. It's about regulating safety. This is where the biology gets fascinating. Your brain is a prediction machine. It hates uncertainty because for most of human history, uncertainty meant danger. When you watch a new thriller, your brain produces a microdose of cortisol because it doesn't know who lives and who dies. It's technically fun, but it's chemically stressful. When you watch a show you've seen 100 times, you eliminate what neuroscientists call prediction error. You know exactly when Ross enters the room. You know exactly when the punchline hits. You have become the architect of the next 30 minutes. And deeply, your brain struggles to distinguish between Michael Scott and a real person. To your nervous system, these familiar characters register as safe tribe members. They are people who seem guaranteed not to hurt you, not to reject you, and not to surprise you. This works to stop the panic, but it also trains your tolerance for the unknown down to zero. And that safety comes with a compounding interest rate. So you aren't just hiding, you're constructing what your brain thinks is a parasocial sanctuary. You're using a digital tool to convince your nervous system that for the next 22 minutes, the variables are finally under control. So if you catch yourself feeling guilty for clicking on The Office again, take a breath. It's easy to look at that behavior and see it as a weakness. It's easy to think you're failing to engage with the new world. But looking at the biology, it's actually the opposite. It's a sign that your system is trying to balance the books. You aren't avoiding reality because you're weak. You're pausing reality because you're depleted. In a world that demands high-stakes processing from the moment you wake up, that boring choice isn't a failure. It's a restoration protocol. You aren't watching a show. You're recharging the battery that lets you deal with tomorrow.